Welcome to a very special daily workout. It's not 9 a.m. in the UK, as you've probably noticed, but it is 3 p.m. here. What time is it with you, Debbie, Easterday?
10 a.m. And
Ah,
thank you for making the adjustment. I'm not good at 4 a.m. That's not my best me.
you have got up very early for us before because Debbie has joined us on Ask the Coach. She got up too early once. The times had changed and she was an hour early. She was getting up at like 5 in the morning for it. She didn't need to. But anyway, let's introduce this. I'm Angela Cripps, the MD of the Recruiting Gym. This is the Daily Workout, and this week it's My Life in Recruitment, where we get to interview people that have had decades of experience in the industry, and you're celebrating a special birthday, or anniversary rather.
Yeah, as I was prepping, I was like, oh, I wonder how I think I was listening to Greg Savage or maybe Katrina's, and they were saying, oh, I've got this many years. And I was like, it's been a while since I've calculated. And I went back and I was like, this is a major anniversary, 25 years in the recruiting agency world and loving it still. And
That's the key. That's the
I'll
key,
tell you
isn't it?
what, Charlotte, thank you for the compliment. But when you are side by side with Angela, you have to have good hair. She always has the best hair. I'm like, well, I'm not going to show up on this show looking like a slob.
I didn't get a chance to do my hair today, so thank you for that. And actually, the webinar we did at lunchtime, Me the Expert, the lady said exactly the same thing. It's the air wrap. Go the air wrap. It's 4 days old. I've not done anything. Right. Anyway,
sorry, I digress. But yeah, 25
you.
years.
Yeah. This is your life in recruitment. So we've got 3 questions to ask you. The first one being, how did you get into the recruitment industry?
You know, I'm laughing every time I watch this show, this series. We've all fallen into it. I mean, so far.
Apart from Hung Lee. Hung Lee's the only one.
Which one?
Hung Lee. So
Hung Lee. He was deliberate?
He was deliberate.
Deliberate in all of his missions. That doesn't surprise me. But, yeah, I was wandering around aimlessly. I thought that I was going to have a bachelor's degree and people would be lining up to employ me. And I ended up with a bachelor's degree of philosophy of interdisciplinary studies.
I don't even know what that means.
Just
share a little bit.
Yeah. So you can't do anything with that degree and except, bartend. I mean, hospitality, right? So I was wandering around aimlessly. I was like, okay, I need a real job. I need insurance. I need to feel like a productive citizen. So there was a recruiting agency hiring a secretary. And I was like, well, I don't think I'm going to be fighting off many people for a salary of 25K. So I think this is my in.
Okay, that sounds quite good if it's 25 years ago.
It was okay, but it was my entry into the respectable working world. So I was like, I have no corporate experience. I need someone to teach me everything I need to know. That point of entry, surprisingly easy in recruiting agency world. If you are driven, somebody likes you, friend of a friend. I mean, there's very little barrier to entry.
It can be a problem sometimes, but I'm glad it
Exactly. But I landed there and it all just felt like it made sense to me. And I feel like it was an accident, but then when I go back to my education, I'm kind of like, wait a minute, I've been prepping for this my entire life. And even my education, my course load was Native American rituals, African American studies, women's studies, science fiction and gender, psychology courses, courses about dissecting critical thinking. I mean, this was all about getting to know human beings and people. Yeah. And so I've always had an interest in people. I just think that HR does a terrible job of marketing its functions out there so that people are 7 and 8 and they want to be an HR manager or a sourcer, an IT recruiter, and people don't even know what these things are. So I think it's great that we get out and tell people what we are.
Definitely, definitely. And the fact that all of that education brought you to this point, and that's the thing about recruitment, there's so many different elements to it that actually whatever you studied you would be probably able to use in this job. And that's why I love it, because the challenge of it as well, dealing with people, not always easy, so the more knowledge you've got the better. But what I want to know is, you join as a secretary, how long is it before they realize, wait a minute, this is a recruiter in the making?
I remember the moment. I was sitting at the front desk and I was, calling people up to remind them about their timesheets. And then as I'm reminding them about their timesheets, I'm talking to all the consultants, and some folks were standing around the desk. And a woman named Susan Hinckley said, "Jim, you should make Debbie a recruiter." And I was like, "Well, what is it?"
So you couldn't have been there that long.
Yeah, I knew that we had recruiters. I had no idea what they did. And then that's when I started kind of moving into recruiting coordinations management, managing all the rec lists and things like that, working a bit more with the consultants out in the field. I loved it. It all came really naturally to me. And then I made a leap to a different organization. And the gentleman who started that company knew me from my prior role, and he said, "We're going to hire you as a recruiter." And so I jumped in. I had no idea still what a recruiter was, but just here is a list of jobs. Go find these candidates. And, luckily by that point, we had the web available to us. We weren't faxing resumes by that point.
We got so excited when the fax turned up, I tell you. Yes. So it opened up a whole new world to us. But unfortunately, with all of that came the good, the bad, and the ugly. But we want to hear about the good, the bad, and the ugly of your recruitment life. You can take them in whatever order you want.
I like to end on a positive note, right? So the bad is, look at racism, sexism, ageism. It's alive and well. And you find that out in this seat. And it's heartbreaking sometimes when you know how hard a candidate has prepared for this opportunity, how much they want it, how badly they want it. And they interview, and no one can figure out why they didn't get the job. And, Katrina will tell you, you've got to push the managers, you've got to push, and you can to some extent. And then sometimes you can't. Sometimes you get answers like, "I don't know, it was just something about her. That I can't put my finger on it. I just," you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, "Oh, I know what that's called. It's called bias. Oh, that's racism." So we're clear, but you can't always say the thing out loud. You can encourage people to change their perspective, but you can't change people's minds in large part.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? We get the opportunity to make a difference in recruitment, and it might take a long time with that individual, but you're going to keep putting forward people that are the right person for the job and keep having those conversations. Okay, you never know that bad element.
Yeah, that's the bad. But the blessing that I have in my life right now is that I don't have to recruit for those companies.
That's the decision.
It's one of the reasons that I decided I will be my own boss at some point, so that I can do what I love, which is recruiting, but I don't have to do it for people who are going to abuse folks once they're there.
Yeah. And whether you're your own boss or whether you're not, have those conversations with whoever is the boss to let them know, here's the potential. Yeah. If they're like that, we walk away.
And when you have those conversations and your boss says, then you know that it is time to find a new room. Because I will tell you, this is a karma-based position and business. And if it feels icky, it's probably icky. Don't do it. You'll never forget that one time that you took somebody out of a role that they thought was okay, and you put them into a toxic environment where they were abused and working 60 hours a week, getting paid for 40. I yeah, it's very liberating to say, I think you'll be better represented by a different recruiter.
Yeah. Yeah, love that. And the power that gives you as well to then approach other companies to say this is the reason why. You're going to find the right people that you're with. So let's leave those. Yeah. They'll get smaller and smaller and they'll run out of business. Brilliant.
There's the bad. Okay, so there's the bad. This is getting my blood pressure up.
Yeah.
All right, exactly. So there's the bad. The ugly is dealing with the candidates, right? When you've got the reality of this ugly world where I know why this person isn't being hired. And
I'm glad you finished that sentence. I did leave it. I nearly jumped in, but I didn't, because you were like dealing with the candidates and then you just paused for a long time and that was the ugly. And I'm like, well, wait a minute.
Oh no, I love the candidates. I'm probably guilty of getting too attached to candidates. But when someone comes to me, I always feel like there's a reason for it, even though I know that this is probably someone, I might not be able to place this person, but when someone is sent to me, I feel like I need to give them attention. And so it's usually a job seeker who is at the end of their rope. They don't know why they're not getting hired. They've been through 15 interviews. They're studying for the job. And then I realized this person was put in my path because I'm supposed to give them the brutal reality that nobody else is giving them.
Yeah.
You're not likable, and then, that's an ugly moment, to have with another human being. But you can't change you can't fix a problem you don't know is an issue. And so when I tell people that, look, you did all the homework, you did all the research, you've done all the things, but you know what you didn't do? You haven't smiled. We've been talking for 25 minutes. Not once have you smiled. Is it how you act with your friends? Is this how you act with your friends? Well, no, but I'm in an interview. Right, but this person's also hiring a coworker.
Yeah.
I'm laughing. So someone who's got life in them.
I got brought out on this, and it was actually put on a TV show on Amazon Prime. With my face, and then with the quote across my face, to poor Justin Hillier, who is moving to the UK next week. He's going to be on our Ask the Coach next week. But the quote was, "You're just not that likable."
I mean, but right, some people don't know.
But that was 7 years ago. He is lovable now, but no one had ever told him. They just let him carry on. And yeah, the approach was just all wrong. This was a TV show that's a bit like The Apprentice combined with Dragon's Den or Shark's Tale, whatever you are. It was brilliant. But yeah, poor Justin just didn't come across as that likable. And I was the one that was there, sat with him, coaching him, and told him, and they used that as a quote.
Yeah, but it's an awful, ugly moment to have with another person. But if I'm having that conversation and I know exactly what's wrong. I know exactly what's wrong. Every 3 or 4 seconds, you're saying and stuff.
Well,
Yeah, well, I went to blah, blah, blah and stuff. And then I went to there and then I did blah, blah, blah and stuff. And it's a distraction. You've got to focus on stopping this. You've got to be aware when you're saying it. Make a little hashtag. Every time you hear yourself say it, make a little hashtag. Be aware of it so that you can stop saying this. It makes you seem unprofessional. But those little things, people are like, oh, I didn't realize I did that.
Yeah.
But those moments, I'm like, you have to have them. If you're in the seat, you have to have them. You might be able to save somebody from joblessness.
Yeah, that's the power of it. Okay, it's ugly, yes, and it's difficult conversations. We've got a course for that, by the way, Charlotte. Having difficult conversations as a consultant, there's also the one as a manager, because that is part of the job. So maybe that's one of the reasons why we've got a high turnover. People don't realise that there is that ugly conversation, let's call it that then, but it's so powerful and it can make a huge difference, not just to that person getting the job, but to their life in general as well. really, a lot of the time, they really don't know that they're doing that. Okay, so let's get on to the good then, Debbie.
The
Finish on the
good.
positive.
I mean, the good is just my entire work life. I don't care about work life. And I don't even think about work-life balance because my work and my life is like this. And I love that. And it overlaps. And it never feels like work to me. Some of my very best friends are here in this space. I mean, Glenn Martin, I lean on that poor guy for everything. Katrina, I mean, you and Louise, like these empowering sidebar conversations that you have with other people in the field that just are like, oh man, I need some light today in my life. You know, I need someone to, you know, talk me off the ledge today.
Oh.
Or I just made this call. Was it the right call? Was it the wrong call? Who can I call? And I feel so supported.
Well, there you go. You mentioned Glenn Martin. A message pops up. He's over on LinkedIn Live. Recruiters need to get comfortable with the responsibility they have, be accountable, keep setting high standards, both for themselves and for hiring managers and teams. You've got Jason Matuska. I hope I've pronounced that right.
Yeah.
Good seeing you, Debbie, as well. And Louise, again, saying, yeah, you do lovely things out of work too, though, Debbie. It's not like you are a bonkers workaholic, are you?
And I find myself like sneaking off to the office, and my family's like, "You're not in there working, are you?" On Saturday, I'm like, "No, I just bouncing the checkbook," or you know.
But we love it. That's the thing. We wouldn't be doing it if we didn't like it. I mean, yeah, there's me at midnight doing presentations to Australia. It's what we love. It's what gives us joy. So why not make it both the same? That's lovely. I love that. So that means that, yeah, you're not going to have the stress. You're not going to have the issues. You may have to have conversations with the family though. So we'll leave that one with you.
Yeah.
Last piece of advice then, that if someone was joining the recruitment industry this year, what would be your top piece of advice, Debbie?
I would say find areas that you're really passionate about. Because for me, you can't be an expert about across the board with all industries. And when people are like, "Oh, we recruit for everything," I tried it. You can't do it well, you know? And so really get yourself a strong foothold in a few areas that really interest you. You know, I always try to make sure that I've got some creative clients in the mix because I love recruiting for creative jobs. I love reviewing portfolios. I love all of that. But I also love recruiting for tech positions because they're always changing. And so that constantly keeps me in the learning wheelhouse where I have to do research and I have to go out and figure out, what's this new tool? I've never heard of that. You know, and it keeps me stimulated. Those are the things that make this never feel like work, because as I'm reading and researching, I actually am passionate about and interested in the material and learning about those industries and those spaces. So if you're interested in aerospace, cool. Go recruit for a company that's doing aerospace work, you know? And if you always had a kind of a passion for games, awesome. Go work for Riot Games. You're going to love what you do every day.
There's some great games agencies out there now, which again, 15, 20 years ago, we never had.
You know, and they're super into it. And, you know, people, if you love music, go recruit for Sweetwater, go recruit for music studios. I mean, combine your passions so that where you're working doesn't feel worky. It's constantly interesting. I'm not someone who should recruit for accountants.
That was my first job. Consultant.
That's someone else's work, you know, but I love pharma and I love biotech. I love learning about projects that they're doing and work that they're doing. That stimulates me and it intrigues me. So I'm lit up all 16 hours of the day that I end up working.
Okay, we're not advocating that. This is what Debbie loves. That's fine.
Yeah,
That's what you can get from a career in recruitment, isn't it? And you're
yeah.
so right. Where's your passion? What do you love? Go and focus on that, because then you will book yourself onto those networking events and go to those conferences. Imagine if it's music and you've got to go to a conference on music, or you're expected to go to the Ivor Novello Awards or something like that. I'm like, hello, yes.
Yeah, and my whole arm of dental industry is just because I love those people. And those dental conferences are the most fun I've ever had in my life. And so I'm just like, okay, well, I'm in dental now. And you build your network, and it's a beautiful thing. It happens so organically. So yeah, find a niche, stick to your passions, and recruit in that space. It never feels like work.
Fantastic. Well, it's always a pleasure speaking to you. We hope to have you back on one of our other sessions soon, and maybe it's on my plan to get out to Nashville this year to the Rec Fest. So if you're going to be there,
if you are,
we get to
tell me if you are. I'll make that
public.
time. It's only like 8 hours.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us, Louise. Oh yeah, we've already got all lovely comments on you. I haven't met anyone that doesn't love you. There you go. Let's finish on that.
Thanks, well, thank you for having me on. Great show.
My pleasure.
Love this series. All right.
Bye-bye. Yay. Oh, hasn't finished. We're still live. Sorry. Click the wrong button.